Welcome to another episode of Sports with Monga, and it has ended the Italian Grand Prix. And what a Grand Prix we had! It had it had fun when the formation lap was happening. That was even fun and exciting to watch. When Yuki Tsunoda's car halted, like after during the formation lap, when they're moving to the grid, and it halts, and they go like the engine just blows up for them. But what a moment for the Ferrari fans, for the Tifosis, to finally have a moment for two drivers, mostly in my mind. There are a lot of drivers aggrieved, in my opinion, but the two drivers that the most be happy will be Max Verstappen, who breaks the record of 10 consecutive race wins, breaking the record of Sebastian Vettel that he equaled in Zandvoort. And the second guy will be Carlos Sainz, who was holding for his dear life with first Max Verstappen when he was trying to save his lead, and then second Charles Leclerc, who's breathing down his neck like a madman. But then Sainz just did a perfect enough job to protect himself from an overtake from Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc, at the end, it was going to be like the Monza curse of basically Ferrari drivers coming together. That could have happened, and like it was a heart and mouth moment for me when I was watching this happen. Like every time after Parabolica through the race straight in the turn one, Leclerc just trying to move ahead of Sainz, and Sainz holding up defensively. It was a race of legends, a beautiful race, a really, really exciting Monza Italian Grand Prix, in my opinion. I don't know what you think, but I think for that, you should hit the subscribe button right now and click the subscribe button immediately if you want to enjoy these videos more. Because I've realized like 1,000 people watch my videos and only 10% are subscribed. So come on, guys, hit the subscribe button, push the bell icon as well to like this video. And let's get straight into the race reaction. As I said, it was a lot of things happening with the formation lap itself. He did not start. That was the official official qualification or the official race for Yuki Tsunoda. He did DNS, not DNF. He did not start. But it started with 19 drivers on track. Max Verstappen behind Sainz, and Sainz did do the best to kind of hold off the one chasing the 10th consecutive Grand Prix record. Max Verstappen in the first corner, pretty clean for a couple of corners in my mind. That's what was important. Sainz was trying to build, but then he never got the lead till enough, like big enough. Max was always in his DRS, but then the DRS was not open yet, first 3 laps. And then when the DRS opened, he made a lunge in the turn one. If you remember last year or the year before, the same corner, Max was on top of Lewis Hamilton. Like the cars were literally on top of each other. This time he pulled out and gave Sainz a little more respect. And that was interesting to see. That was really, really interesting to watch. That Max knew on his back of the mind that he has the car and he will get Sainz pretty easily when the DRS opened. And that's what happened eventually. The race eventually turned out to be Max Verstappen won, Perez P2, Sainz P3, Leclerc P4, Russell P5, Hamilton P6, Albon P7, Norris P8, Alonso P9, and Bottas taking Alfa Romeo's point in the 10th. There's a lot in that race that happened. You know, it was a lot of overtakes, a lot of penalties given as well. There was a penalty given to Lewis Hamilton. There was a penalty given to George Russell. There was a penalty given to Liam Lawson and Logan Sargent as well. So there were a lot of penalties kind of handed out for collisions. But in my mind, I think it was interesting to see how the battle on the top, because we never went to the back, like the world footage or like what people were watching. We never saw the Logan Sargent Piastri battle. We saw the Piastri versus Lewis Hamilton battle. That was very interesting. But I think the main thing that we we can talk about it. There was a lot happening there, so we can talk about a lot. But then I'm just saying we didn't see a lot of Joe, Gasly, Stroll, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Lawson, or Bottas in the whole race. It was majorly just kind of fixed on after Max Verstappen had overtaken Sainz. Everybody like Sainz, I think in 2 laps or 3 laps boxed for the hards. I think that after that it was interesting that how Perez then, because Hamilton had started the race on hard as well, everybody else was on the medium. So Hamilton had gone for the alternate strategy of going into starting with hards and then going into mediums, which I think did help him a lot. But that was very interesting to see. So eventually Perez had to overtake Sainz as well, and that was a battle that, you know, Ferrari straight line speed was there. I think they had something with the Monza aspect that it was working better, that they could hold off. It was not as easy as we have known before of Red Bulls crossing through. But then eventually it was Verstappen, Perez, and Sainz and Leclerc. Sainz and Leclerc was like on top of Sainz, because Sainz had just, I think it was 8 or 10 laps from after Perez overtook, because Perez was behind Leclerc, and Perez overtook Leclerc, and then Perez was pushing to get Sainz. And then I think Sainz locked up around in lap 41 that allowed Perez to overtake him, which eventually meant that he could overtake. Like there was a little much easier battle, but then a lot of like side by side cars. Like it was a beautiful from the Parabolica to the Ascari chicanes and so on. It was really interesting to watch that one. But I think the main thing was Leclerc, then, or like Carlos, then a couple of laps after Perez took over Sainz. It was pretty interesting to hear Leclerc saying on the radio that, you know, Sainz is struggling with his rears. I think he was basically looking at that some team orders for Sainz to swap positions with him, but I don't think that would have been fair on Sainz himself, because Sainz had done an amazing job the whole weekend with putting the car in the pole position as well. But then just like 2 laps before, Sainz came on the radio as well to say the fact, guys, let's just bring this home now. You're putting too much pressure. And there was a lot of hard on, like anything could have happened in turn 1. They were so close, like they could have taken each other out. Like imagine Ferrari podium gone after they take each other out at Monza, of all tracks possible in the world. But then I think it was interesting that Leclerc was told that let's take it easy, and, you know, he will not push and his positions will stay. Leclerc still made the lunge, locked up massively, and that was like, oh my God, is he going to kind of crash into Sainz? What will happen now? But then Sainz prevailed. He finished P3. I think Leclerc would feel that he had a missed opportunity. If he had a better weekend, I think that I would have been with him. He would have been favored more, but then Sainz had done an amazing job the whole weekend. So there was no way that they could kind of screw his race for just Leclerc to kind of get through. The Mercedes boys, in my mind, did the best they could. Of course, Russell, I don't understand why Russell was fighting Hulkenberg and getting like he cut the track to take an advantage after boxing for the hards. But he could have easily taken, but then he took a 5-second penalty, which was very strange in my opinion. And that's kind of like, even the radio, the team didn't tell him that, you know, you have a 5 seconds, just give the place back and then you can take him. I think he just wanted clean air, and he would be like, okay, it's fine. Like you can take I can build a gap easily. So that's, I think, what was the important thing, in my opinion. And I think that's kind of how Hamilton also felt, because Hamilton also felt that his tires were not coming alive, like mediums were taking time. But I think the best thing was like when it came alive, because he had pitted and he had Alonso. He had Alonso in front. The McLaren boys, and he had Albon in front before he could touch Russell. And then you could see like he was able to kind of overtake all of them pretty easily. But of course, like not unless he spoiled the race for a New Zealander of Oscar Piastri in the straights. He I think he just like the tire just cross locked. He just went too far before overtaking after the turn one. So turn two was pretty interesting, where they kind of, yeah, I think that was not the best moment for Hamilton, who kind of broke the front wing of Oscar Piastri, who eventually had to pit, and then he was out of points. They were fighting for P8 at that moment, but then Alonso was taken out, but Albon was like the one holding up everybody, because McLarens were not as quick as Albon. And Albon was able to, with his straight line speed, was able to kind of get the move. Could not get the move done, but Albon could kind of hold on. And James Walls was saying eventually after the race that they were 6-7 kilometers higher up than the others, that the McLarens, but then the McLarens never kind of had the final thing that they could kind of move them through. And that's what I think eventually was the difference between McLaren and the Albon and the Williams of Albon, who was just amazing. I think that's kind of something we have to understand, that Albon is out driving that car, because Logan Sargent is nowhere. He finished P13, so he was nowhere to be there. So Norris, after a difficult weekend, because he was like struggling with it, he's like, I have no idea why my car is behaving the way it is. He did not have the right idea of where the car was, and like mentally, like how can he move it forward, where can he push, where he cannot push, and stuff and so on. But then I think he made the most of it to finish P8 in the points. Alonso, I think it was just luck for him that Piastri dropped out, and also Sargent at one point was at P10, and he got a penalty as well. So that's why I think Bottas and Alonso got the points. Alonso was like just steady. He started P10, he finished P9. So I think he would be happy with this race. Bottas, good for him. Alfa Romeo scoring a points is, again, as I said, they were out of the points most of the race, but only after Piastri and Sargent's Piastri kind of being stuck by Hamilton, and then had to pit for the new front wing. Sargent then getting a penalty, then made sure that he was in the points. Liam Lawson missing with points, but then he had some issues with Piastri as well. He kind of like, that's one of the things that I've realized, like the new drivers, they thought that it was much easier for them to overtake in this, but then from the F2 days, where the cars are similar and less like equally draggy, you have to kind of be more aware of like how the car will turn and how much will it turn, because sometimes the Formula One car just doesn't want to, like, you have to fight it to kind of make it turn. In very tight corners as well, so there was not a lot of space to for Liam Lawson, but it's good to show, like, it's a good showing. Of course, it's unlucky with Yuki Tsunoda. We don't know where he would have finished, but then he finished P11. So that's a good marker. That's a good reference for him now to the next race in Singapore in 2 weeks. And that's something which everybody will be like looking forward to now, right? There won't be like, we have no idea. There's a reference of Liam Lawson right now in Formula One. Talked a lot about Piastri. I think Sargent, I think he's a weakling. We have to think about, like, Williams need to do something about him. He cannot be doing this over and over. Like, if cars can score points, this is the best chance for them to score points. And if they couldn't with both cars because of a driver error or a driver mistake, that's something that they need to look into and take into consideration. I think Zhou Guanyu had a pretty, anonymous race as well. Gasly, I think eventually Ocon I think there were some issues with Ocon, who impeded and even had an issue with Norris. I think he got a penalty as well. But eventually Joe, Gasly, Stroll, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, the Haas boys, I don't think they had any straight line speed to kind of complement. I think they were trying to kind of hold off as much as possible and just finish the race in front of an amazing Tifosis. And the love that they gave the Ferrari drivers. They had the Ferrari engine, but they couldn't do anything much. But it ended. That was a whole wrap up in my mind. There was a lot happening in that race eventually. And again, if you've not hit the subscribe button, I would say please hit that now. so that you do not forget that. The 2023 team standings, the points after Italian Grand Prix, it's a clear favorite who's going to win the constructors championship this season. Red Bull Racing 583 points, Mercedes 273, Ferrari 228, with Aston Martin at 217, McLaren at 115 points. So the top is final. There we know that Red Bull is going to win this, but then the main thing is who comes number second, who comes number two. Is it Mercedes, Ferrari, or Aston Martin? Aston Martin has dropped the ball. Ferrari has taken over a little bit on them with the number three. But McLaren had a surge. Will they surge more? This is a lot to talk about. Alpha Tauri 3 points, Alfa Romeo 10, Haas 11, and Williams 21. So there is this kind of two gaps of, you can see there's a clear group formed here. So let's see how this goes. Yes, and that's the roundup, and that's the Italian Grand Prix for you. Let me see if I can find the drivers' championship here. In the drivers' championship, Max Verstappen is the man of the moment. After Italian Grand Prix, there is no denying that Max Verstappen is that man on form. He is number one with 364 points. Number two is Sergio Perez, 219. Alonso is 170 points with Hamilton, 164. Carlos Sainz has taken over Charles Leclerc with just 6 points, who is just Sainz is 617 and Leclerc at 114. With Russell at 109 points. So there is a pack again here, like Verstappen is in the next world. Can Alonso challenge Perez? Can Hamilton challenge Perez and Alonso? And who will come out of in the Ferrari battle with Leclerc or Sainz? And that's something which we will have to see and try to see, like, how will this kind of head in the forward direction. The next race, of course, is now, and that's one thing very important. Now we just completed the next race in the calendar for 2023 is Singapore. It is 15th and 17th of September, and then it's an Asia leg of Japan and Singapore before you move to Qatar and then the United States. So the best thing in my mind, what's going to happen is Daniel Ricciardo is going to be back in AlphaTauri in Japan or in Qatar in my mind, and because he won, then the United States leg and the kind of the South America leg does start. But that's the race. I think that's kind of the Italian Grand Prix. It was beautiful. I don't know how you feel. I feel pretty pumped about being a Ferrari fan, and that was really good to see that they were able to kind of do something in Monza, get a podium. And this is the battle that we wanted to see. Inter-team battle at this moment could be like, but this is going to be interesting to see how does Singapore then work for Ferrari and Red Bull. Can they continue 10 wins done? Can they do 11? Can they do 12? It apparently seems that Max Verstappen got a message from Sebastian Vettel, who said, do 12 and nobody will break your record ever. You never know, Sebastian. The number of races that we have nowadays, it's too long and too much can happen. But before I end with this video, thanks for tuning in. And if you've watched till now, do like this video, do share and do subscribe. Let me know in the comment section below, how did you find the Italian Grand Prix? What were your favorite moments? My favorite moment was Sainz on the radio telling, guys, let's bring it home. Like literally pleading, come on, guys, give me a break. You can't be doing this. Leclerc can't be doing this to me right now. And I think that's the thing that eventually, I don't know, saved him. Maybe Fred Vasseur was like, yep, he has done a good job. Let him win it. But let me know in the comments section what do you think. Do like this video, do share it with your friends, and do subscribe to the channel. And I catch you in the next one.